Hey, 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 Facebook. How's everybody doing? Make sure I ain't got no lipstick on my teeth. Ooh, okay. So let me just make sure that I am actually live. Yes, I am. Okay, welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you that don't know, my name is Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. I am a confidence and success coach for African American women that have coaching and/or consulting businesses. What I help you to do is to show up boldly and consistently in your business, allowing you to increase your productivity as well as your profitability in your business. Hey, Miss Kizzy, how are you this evening? Okay, so yeah, I thought this seemed like a good idea initially to kind of turn it a little bit, but just trying to make it work here, trying to make it work, ladies. So I'm going to be very brief. I had a very, very, very long day today, and I have so much work that I have to do. Oh, thank you, sweet. Thanks for the love. I have so much work I have to do, y'all, so I'm going to try to be brief. So again, I'm Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. For those of you that may have just joined or may have, missed it the first time, right? I'm Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. I am a confidence and success coach for African American women. I help them that have coaching and/or consulting businesses. Let me be specific. What I do is I help women to show up boldly, consistently, and with intention in their coaching and/or consulting business, right? Allowing them to increase their productivity as well as their profitability in their businesses. So really what that boils down to is actually working with women to help them to eliminate all of that negative self-talk that goes on in our heads, as well as that self-sabotaging behaviors, right, that stop us from showing up consistently in our business, resulting in, us being stagnant or procrastinating and just basically not doing what we need to do in our business. Therefore, the result is what? Not up leveling your business or not getting your business to the point where you want it to get to, right? So that's more specifically. So what you have joined me for right now is Evening Motivation with Jackie, which is every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do this, and I did pretty good today. I think I got on at about maybe 1 minute after 10. So for me, that's progress. Usually I'm a few minutes behind schedule, but yeah, so I'm working on it. And I'm trying to keep these broadcasts to definitely no longer than like maybe 25 minutes at the most, okay? 25 at the most, because again, I know everyone's time is extremely valuable. So the subject for tonight is going to be, how did I title it? Let me see. I said, who do you deem responsible for what exists and or what does not exist in your life, right? Who do you hold responsible for what exists in your life and what does not exist in your life? Now, the reason, and I kind of talked about it a little bit on Tuesday, but I didn't go into it too much. And again, this is just kind of, just a brief talk, if you will, just to kind of get you to think about things in a different light. Now, what I mean when I say that, now I know some of you may say, oh, I hold God responsible. God is responsible for, everything in my life, me, breathing, seeing another day. And yes, your creator is. But what I want to talk about is your responsibility, right? You know how there's a biblical saying that says, let me see if I can get this correct. I believe it's something to the effect of God helps those who help themselves, right? So that's kind of the path that I'm going down. Meaning, a lot of times I think, and I've done it before in the past too, I think a lot of times we may get very involved in pointing fingers and, putting the blame on others, right? For different things that are happening and or not happening in our lives. And that's really what this session or this discussion tonight is focused on. Because I've heard a lot of people, like I'm a social worker. For those of you that don't know, I'm a social worker by profession. And I've been in the field since 94. So I have heard people blame other people, right, over and over and over again for different things that they don't have in their life, right? Or different things that don't exist, or things that were taken away from them, let's just say. Like for example, and this is just the first thing that comes to my mind, like, people that are on public assistance, right? They'll, get their Medicaid cut off, or maybe even they'll be evicted, and they're constantly focused on what the worker didn't do, right? What the DHS worker didn't do. Well, if they had sent this, or if they had told me this, or if I hadn't had that stupid woman answer the phone when I called, or, just on and on and on, right? My point is constantly focusing on what someone else did, or how someone else's action or inaction had a negative result, right? Because the worker didn't, answer her phone, let's just say, when they called. As a result of that, their Medicaid got cut off, right? And they're constantly focused on what others did or did not do, and how that contributed to the state that they're in now. Now, here's the thing. What I like to do is to shift that focus from, and I'm not denying whether that worker answered the phone or if that worker was knowledgeable. I'm not denying any of that. However, what I am saying is that I think you need to shift, when I work with people, I have them shift that responsibility over to themselves, right? Meaning that we can all acknowledge what other role someone else had in this particular situation, right? But what I want to focus on is your role in the situation. What role did you have in this particular situation, right? Because when you do that, when you shift that focus back to you, that and actually take ownership of it, or actually become responsible for it, then at that point, if you are the responsible one, or you are the one in the driver's seat, then what does that mean? That means that you can dictate where you go from there. You can dictate how it's going to play out in the future, right? Or you actually have a hand, right, in actually changing that situation for the better, changing that situation from a situation of inaction, or their lack of, actually changing that, right? Actually changing it. Oh, hi, how are you? I think that's you, Miss Gwen. It's just that sometimes I know people's names don't always show up as, the actual name. You know what I mean? Like maybe they have like I don't want to say a code name, but sometimes I'm not exactly sure who it is. So that's why sometimes I may not say, hey, so-and-so, because I think it might be that person, but it may not. But thank you for joining. So, right. So what I do is I like to shift that focus back to the individual, right? For them to be able to accept their role in it. What was your role in it, right? Maybe your role in that situation that I just mentioned, maybe your role was, I don't know, keeping records, as to say that when you have to recertify for your Medicaid, let's just say, for example, right? If you know that happens every March, then prepare for that, right? Go into the office maybe a whole, month in advance, just to allow for things like maybe you might have to go to work and you might not be able to go that day, or you may go into the office that day and maybe they had a power outage, or maybe your worker's out, maybe your worker's on vacation and they're like, oh, you need to wait until your worker gets back, whatever the case is. But that is taking ownership and taking responsibility of it, right? Because it's coming up, you have to do it if you want that result, which is to keep your Medicaid, right? So you are being proactive in the process. So when I say shifting back, that's the purpose and the importance of shifting that or actually accepting that ownership, right? And not pointing the finger like, oh, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that, right? And this can be applied to all areas of life. I don't care if it's relationships, personal relationships, professional relationships, jobs, businesses, whatever the case is, right? It's always important to accept what your role was in it. Also, too, if you never accept, like, I know, I'm pretty sure you guys know some people who constantly blame other people for everything that happens in their life, right? And one of the really negative things of that, or problematic things of that, is that when you do that, right, you don't accept any responsibility for it. And likely it's going to happen again and again and again, right? When you don't accept ownership. And even accepting ownership could be, depending on the situation, it could be that maybe you depended upon someone that maybe you shouldn't have. Maybe now that you're wiser, you know that you can't depend on that individual like you thought you could, right? So it could be accepting ownership in that manner, right? Being realistic. So let's apply this to entrepreneurship, for us coaches and consultants out there, right? And I say that because most of my messages can be generalized, right? Like I said, they can, not accepting responsibility can play out and have a negative impact on your personal and your professional life, right? I think you ladies know that, but I want to bring it more specifically to relate it to entrepreneurs, coaches, and consultants. Now, here's the thing with that. When I say accept responsibility, perfect example, and I'm just making up something as I go along. Let's say, I don't know, your coaching business. In your coaching business, you are not generating the type of revenue that you want to, right? And maybe you feel, I don't know, maybe you feel that people aren't supporting you the way that or people aren't showing up the way that you want them to. Let me say that. That's a better way, or better for my example. You have your coaching business and you feel like people are not showing up the way that they should to support your business, right? Now, that may be the case, or that may be some of it, right? But also take a look at you. Take a look at what you're doing and what you're not doing. That is accepting ownership. That is accepting ownership for the fact that your business or your coaching business is not generating the consistent revenue that you want it to, right? So that's what you want. You know that that's not happening. And instead of completely pointing fingers at other people, saying people are not supporting me, or I don't know, Facebook ads are too high, or, I got to work this full-time job, so I don't have time to post, or, I don't have money for a virtual assistant to help me with some of the day-to-day operations of the business that I may not have time to do, so on and so forth, right? Now, yes, some of those things may be true. However, taking ownership of it, the way that changes the whole game is because if you take ownership, that means you're in the driver's seat, right? And if you're in the driver's seat, then that means you can choose where to go. If you want to go this way, you can go that way. If you get down there, it's a dead end. You can flip yourself around and go back the other way, right? You are in the driver's seat at that point. You are accepting responsibility for what exists and what does not exist in your life or in your business, okay? You are in the driver's seat and you are accepting responsibility for what exists as well as what does not exist in your life. Once you do that, you're in the driver's seat, like I just said. If you go down and turn that way and it's a dead end, you flip around and go the other way. The same thing. If you are having a situation in your coaching business that you're not, happy with, you want to turn it around, if you accept ownership, you can do just that. You can do just that, which is to turn it around and to actually begin to make some changes, right? Make some changes. Because at that point, you have accepted responsibility. But when you don't accept responsibility, that means what? That you are giving, or you are handing over that power or handing over that responsibility to others. You are handing that responsibility over, because it can't work both ways. If you pointing the fingers, right? Meaning that somebody else is responsible for what exists or does not exist in your business. If you were pointing fingers and you were saying someone else is responsible, then that means it is that person's responsibility to change it, right? To make a shift in your business. So it's like you can't have it both ways. Either it is somebody else's responsibility and you're going to leave it there, leave it in their hands, and you're just going to accept, let the chips fall where they may, and you're just going to accept it, or you're going to take responsibility or take full ownership of where your business is or where it is not, or what exists in your business, right? Or what does not. And like I said, and the same in your life, what exists in your life and what does not, right? Like, do you have loving relationships? Do you have loving, fulfilling relationships? I'm just throwing something out there, y'all. Do you have that? If you do, or shall I say if you don't, then accept responsibility for that. And again, I'm not saying that other people should not accept their responsibility. I'm not saying that. They should. But at the same time, you have to accept responsibility for your personal as well as professional life. And once you do that, once you make that one shift, things can start to change, right? So I was using that analogy about, do you have, I forgot how I just phrased it. Do you have loving, I forgot the other word I used, but do you have loving and supportive relationships in your life? And if you do not, right, then accept responsibility for that and begin to make changes. But if you don't accept responsibility, you're not going to make the changes. You're not going to make the changes, right? So I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there because, like I said, I got so much paperwork to do for my job. I just got a lot to do. A lot to do. So, but I definitely want to make sure that I continue to show up because, again, it's about consistency. And I have to be there for my business. I have to show up when I say I'm going to show up, right? And because otherwise I can't expect you all to be able to, I can't expect any client to expect me to show up for them if I'm not showing up for myself regularly, right? So that was tonight's discussion titled Accepting Responsibility, or the actual title was, who do you hold responsible for what exists and does not exist in your life? That was the actual title. So for those of you that joined me, thank you so much appreciated. I know everyone's time is very, very valuable. And please tag a coach. Please share out the broadcast. Please do that. Sharing is caring. Like I said, if you know anybody that could possibly benefit from this message, please share it out. Again, my name is Jacqueline Kabah Harrison. I am a confidence and success coach for African American women that have coaching and or consulting businesses. I help them to show up boldly, consistently, and with intention in their business to increase their productivity as well as their profitability. Join me here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Evening Motivation with Jackie. And by the way, usually I stream on Facebook and Instagram at the same time. So I got a couple of cameras here. Okay, so if y'all see me shifting. But at any rate, thank you so much, ladies, for joining me, and I will talk to you ladies again soon. All right, I'm going to end on Facebook first. All right, good night, Facebook.